don't like to call myself shaman. I see myself as a medicine person, healing through plants, healing through songs. When I started in 1989, the early 90s, I was one of the first didgeridoo players. We're in a time of global major changes on the planet. And what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves and the future generations. So I highly recommend everybody choose, obviously, organic food, which nourishes us. It is starting with the mastery of our mind, the mastery of our emotions, the mastery of our physical body. These are all tools we can use wherever we are in the world.
Приветствую, друзья! Я сейчас иду в гости сегодня к очень необычному человеку. Это шаман. Это шаман, он действующий шаман, очень сильный. Он музыкант и очень неординарная личность, которая точно знает от и предназначения своего. Я еще ни разу не интервьюировал шамана. Такие попробуем. Hello, guys. What is it?
Some sage, I'm gonna smudge you.
Ага, окей. What should I do? Take off your shirt, please. Просто меня раздеться. Я немножко... Вот какой-то маленький... You
can keep your pants on.
Окей, so I need to put it... No, I'll keep it. Yes. What to do? The stand fits on each other with the bar. Take a deep breath in. Softens...
I heard you announced me as a shaman. In Russia, I understand shamans are the bridge makers between the spirit world and the world of humans. So from that point of view, I probably would be a shaman. But I personally don't like to call myself shaman. I see myself as a medicine person, and I understand that that is very difficult to translate into Russia. But a medicine person, for me, is someone who's on a medicine path, working with healing through plants, healing through songs, healing sounds. So I'm a sound medicine man, and I work with the healing effect of sound since the early 90s, almost 30 years.
Thank you very much for meeting me and for this cleaning of my energy. Yeah?
How did you feel?
Something special, very special. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What was it? What was for?
Okay, so we use these sacred herbs. This is white sage from North America, and the sage has a very purifying effect. That means things we've accumulated in our field through negative thoughts, negative feeling, maybe some energy which we accumulated from others, which obscures or is an obstacle on our journey, sometimes sits in our field. And the sage is our ally for purification of the auric field, also cleansing of the space, consecrating of our instruments. For example, my sacred instruments, they're all being smudged and purified. We also use copal, palo santo, different sacred resins which have a very high vibration.
Yeah. And what about the second part? It was with tobacco, mapacho.
The tobacco is, to the native people, very sacred. What we do is when we go to a sacred place, we always make offering of tobacco or pollen. So the tobacco becomes a carrier of information. It's the carrier of our intention, the carrier of our prayers, the carrier of our reverence. So it's like a materialized prayer. And usually when we ask for permission, you knocked on my door, so then the door opened. When we make offering, it's like knocking on the door of the spirit world, and usually the doors open, and we have good relations with the ancestors and the future generations and the spirits, keepers and guardians of the place. So when we work with the tobacco in prayer, and smoke the tobacco, we never inhale the tobacco. We puff the tobacco, and we charge the tobacco with intention. Maybe you saw I offered the first puff to the great mystery, to the great spirit. Then I offered a puff to Mother Earth. Then I offered the tobacco to all our relations, which means all our relations are all living beings in our world who contribute to our lives that we can live. Mineral kingdom, plant kingdom, mycelium kingdom, animal kingdom, human kingdom. And we are related with all living beings in all these different kingdoms within earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and beyond. So when we say we offer the smoke to all of our relations, we acknowledge that we're part of the circle of life with all living beings in all worlds. And then we call in the 4 sacred directions. Yes, we call in from the east the power of the rising sun, new beginnings. From the west we call in the power of the setting sun, of introspection. From the south we call in the spirit of love, of healing. From the north we call in the spirit of the ancestors. And so with all these puffs we bring them all in and ask for special blessings for you. So when we puff the tobacco and when we blow it into the heart, for example, it's an invitation for the heart to awaken, yes? And for things we've been having on our shoulders, for them to be brushed off. There's many ways of working with this. We basically use the smoke as a carrier of information. So the smoke carries the power of the essence of our prayer, the essence of our intention into the higher dimensional realms, to the great mystery or the great spirit or the field of pure consciousness. And from there it comes back into our world.
This our project, it's about way of human lives. So it's like I would like to give some information about the persons who found the way in the life. I can see you're not a Native American, you're like a European who found the way on the childhood. Yeah? So from your deep childhood you understood what to do and which way to go.
Yeah.
Can you tell the story?
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Okay, so I've been guided by the wind. When I was around 10 years old, I would go alone into the forest. I would sit under a big ancient tree, beech tree, in a beech tree forest, and I would play my flute, and the wind would come, and the wind would open my perception. And it was like the breath of the great mystery, or the breath of great spirit would come to me, and would open my perception and show me that we're in a time of global major changes on the planet. And it showed me that the world we had created was not sustainable. It was destined to fall the way it was built, because it was built on cost of the earth, on cost of the resources of the planet. But that was back in the 80s. There was no internet at that time, you know. So nobody could tell me about these things. The spirit opened my perception, and I saw that we need to learn how to live in harmony with the earth and how to have more reverence and more respect with sacred Mother Earth. So I started studying the medicinal plants. I identified the edible plants, the medicinal plants, their different properties. Yeah. And just by myself, you know, I learned to communicate with plant. I was always very sensitive, so I felt the spirit of the plant. And through my reverence and my respect for the plant kingdom started to communicate with me. And very often through songs as well. So the plants would give me songs, and I would sing these songs back to the plants, and through that this communication would open. And then they would show me which medicinal properties they had. We have to become aware that we're just one solar system of uncountable solar systems within one spiral galaxy, of uncountable spiral galaxies within one universe, of uncountable universes within universes as the external manifestation of the great mystery. So how can we be so ignorant to think that we're the only intelligence in this universe? Obviously we're not so intelligent, because we're destroying ourselves and we are exploiting this sacred earth, which is not just our mother and home planet, but it's our own body. And what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves and the future generations. So I understood that already back then. And I started to have a calling out into the world to find my tribe, to find the land and prepare myself, because I was shown that we would go through a time of global major changes on the planet. I followed this calling. I left home at age 13. I quit school, I left home, and I started being independent through jewelry. I was making jewelry at that time. When I was 17 years old, I met Sun Bear. Sun Bear is a Native American medicine man who developed an earth astrology, and so I studied this earth astrology. Sun Bear strengthened my path by confirming that my vision was not something I imagined, but it was a reality. And I became an apprentice, and I studied with him for 7 years, and studied also, deepened my communication with the plants. We were doing vision quests, 4 days, no food, no water. We were doing sweat lodge purification ceremonies. We were working with the medicine wheel. We were working with plant communication. I started making medicine amulets with the totem stones of my clients, and that was very successful. So that's how I sustained myself at a very young age.
What is your age now?
I'm 52 years old.
52.
Yeah.
So that means that you didn't have usual work in the office or
Never. I worked never for anybody in my life except myself.
And where are you from? Actually, from.
I was born in Germany. I have Viking, Celtic, and Germanic bloodline. But also, some of my Native American friends, they always ask me, "Are you sure that you don't have some native blood in there somewhere?" The surname of my father means early awoken. I haven't done my DNA test. It's not relevant because I believe that if we want to survive as a species on this planet, we need to awaken to the truth that we are all related, not just with all our relations in the different kingdoms, but that we're all brothers and sisters from one human earth family. It doesn't matter what color of skin, but we have the same breath of life which we share. We have this one heartbeat. You know, our blood has the same color. So we're one people on one planet. And in fact, I've once received a beautiful vision. I'd like to share that. When I was sun gazing, the spirit of the sun opened a vision to me. And it's kind of a poetic story. At the beginning, before we came onto this earth, we were one people. And we were fair-skinned. And we walked through the gateway of the sun into this world. And we walked in 4 concentric circles. The ones in the outer circle got burned the most and became the black people. They filtered off the heat of the sun to the next concentric circle, which became the red race, or the First Nation people of the Americas, people of great dignity, of much reverence. And then they again warded it off into the next concentric circle, which became the yellow race. By that time, we squeezed through the gateways of the yellow race, became very grateful because it was protected by the black race and the red race. And then the ones who were most protected in the center of the 4 concentric circles maintained white, fair-skinned. And that is the European race or the Caucasian race. So the teaching of the story, what I received from the sun, is basically that we are one people. And if we want to survive on this planet as a species, as a human species, we have to come back to the truth and the realization that we are brothers and sisters of one human earth family. And it doesn't matter what color of skin and what tradition we come from. When I was in my 20s, I lived in India. I became a pujari. I was living like a yogi in the Himalayas. I lived in caves and practiced meditation. I always had this connection to the Native American tradition, but also to the Eastern philosophy.
Yes.
So I found my place there, and that's where I received my name, Kailash. For me, the name invites me to have my base in the world, my focus to the highest, and to become that centered and present and also empty, so that the great spirit or the great mystery or the Shiva, pure consciousness, can sit on me, can work through me. And this is what this work is about.
What are you doing during your songs? Because my wife, she always listen you when she feel that she needs to do it. And you're making something special ceremonies from the music. What are you doing?
When I started in 1989, the early 90s, I was one of the first didgeridoo players in Germany.
Whoa.
It was unknown. I meditated on a houseboat on the Ganges in Varanasi. I heard before that in a very deep state of meditation you can actually audibly hear the internal sound of the universe, the Om, the humming. And so I was sitting in meditation and suddenly I heard this sound, but it didn't come from inside, it came from down the river. And I followed this sound and I met this Australian man who played the didgeridoo. to the river dolphins. And the river dolphins, back then there were pink river dolphins in the Ganges, and they were communicating with the sound vibration of the didgeridoo. It was very fascinating. So I followed this sound and met this Australian man playing didgeridoo, and I could feel how my energy centers were starting to get stimulated and opened, and like the blossoms opening, and how my energy bodies, we don't obviously have just a physical body, we have a mental body, an emotional body, mental body, astral body, how my energy bodies were expanding. And then I felt that was the flute my friend had prophesied me that I would do healing work with one day. The mother of all flutes,
Yes.
the didgeridoo is the father of all trumpets or mother of all flutes, yeah. And so then I picked up this instrument in the early 90s and practiced and worked with it and experienced the healing effect of the sound vibration, first within myself and then for the people I played. Then I studied with a clairvoyant, a psychic person, for 7 years, and we worked out which rhythm would affect which energy center, which frequency key, which would affect which organ. And now, after 30 years, there's now a big movement of sound healers from all around the world. But of course, what is very important to understand is not the instrument. It's not just playing a gong or a singing bowl which makes you a sound healer. It's a lifestyle, it's a yogic path. So basically, the invitation is to first tune your own instrument, through the conscious diet, organic, vegetarian, vegan, raw. Once we start to purify our diet towards what in the Vedas, which we would call sattvic diet, because there's a lot of toxicity in our food. And so it's very important if we choose clean food, and we have suddenly more energy and we're more clear. It's only through the choice of diet.
If it's right, if I say that we are speaking about the ecology of consciousness. It's all these things, it's like ecology of our mind.
If we eat at all, it's good to choose obviously organic food, which nourishes us, and which is also ideally we as healers or medicine people, we avoid having to kill an animal or sacrifice other life to feed our life. If we have a connection to source, we don't actually need so much food at all. We can be fed from source direct. And through sun gazing and through exercise, Qi movements, for example, Qigong, I believe that you practice some Qigong, and through simple breath movement, you can tap into some energy. Life force is abundantly available all around us, and through breath movement and intention, we can bring in this energy, and then we can transmit this energy through the power of intention and help someone to activate their self-healing circuit. And so through sound, when we charge the sound vibration, the sound wave, it is we charge the sound wave with the power of intention, but also with pranic energy, with life force. Yes, and we channel that through our breath, through our intention, and through our practice of the exercise, meditation, prayer, ceremony. So what we gather medicine in ceremony, accumulate powers, even though I don't like to use that word, because it's more like an energy. Accumulate energy, which we then can transmit. Like for example, when we make that personal sacrifice of fasting and dancing for 4 days, no food, no water, we tap into a whole nother level of energy. And that energy we can bring to our families and our friends and our beloved ones and those in our circle of extended friends and family who need healing. We can transmit that. It doesn't work, to drink alcohol and eat meat and have random sex and contaminate our field, with lower vibrational lifestyle, and then want to play some instrument and heal somebody. In fact, we're going to rather potentially contaminate their field, So it is starting with the mastery of our mind, the mastery of our emotions, the mastery of our physical body, because we're only using 3 to 5% of our brain capacity, so we have so much untapped potential. And through breath, movement, exercise, diet, dance, trance dance, we start to invoke and awaken these dormant circuits, so we can tap into more energy, into the divine potential, or the Buddha nature, or the Tao, or however you want to call it, Shiva, the field of pure consciousness, and translate that energy and transmit it.
What are you doing when you make a vision quest? What is it?
On a vision quest, we go for 4 days, no food and no water, onto a mountain or a sacred place, and we sit there and we're surrounded by our tobacco ties. That's like our space, our questing spot. And the sacred space is for protection, but also for keeping us together there and making sure we're not starting to walk around and wander around. First, there's an emotional cleansing taking place through the physical fasting. When we go through these emotions of maybe boredom or agitation or frustration or whatever, then eventually we meet ourselves. We meet our fears, whatever we carry, we meet that. So basically, in our world, we get so sidetracked and distracted through social media and all the people. In our relationships, we're constantly with someone. If it's our partners or our family or our friends, our business partners, etc. And we hardly have ever time to really, really meet ourselves without any distractions. On a vision quest, we sit 4 days, no food, no water, to truly meet ourselves and ask, who am I? Self-inquiry, who am I truly? Am I my thoughts? I'm thinking. Am I my feelings? I'm feeling, I'm thinking. My thoughts influence my feelings influence my thoughts. But thoughts change and feelings change. I'm not thinking nor feeling. I am thinking and I'm feeling, but I'm not my thoughts and I'm not my feelings, and I'm also not this body, right? I'm born into this body changes, eventually returns back to the earth. So I'm not this body, I live in this body. I am thinking, I am feeling, I am doing things, but I'm not my action. I have things, but I'm not the things I have. So who am I truly? Yes. So that ultimate question, nobody can tell us, but we can find out who we truly are by stopping and tuning in to come in tune with the true essence of our being. And that is a practice which is used in the yogic practice as meditation in the native traditions. We send a voice from our heart to the heart of the great mystery, the great spirit, and cry for vision. When we really stop and arrive, and then our visions open. And we may have a power animal come to us, or the great spirit comes in form of a power animal. Sometimes it comes physically, sometimes it comes in an energy form or a vision. And then sometimes, our vision opens and we memorize our assignment of why we came into form, why did we come into being. So it's very healthy and very recommended to once in our life go on a vision quest to really, really meet ourselves and remember what is our true assignment, why did we come into being. Yeah.
And you can help with this.
Yes, of course.
For example, I can
space.
send to you a message and Kailash, okay, I'm coming, please make it for me.
It's a lot of preparation.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of preparation, so we are definitely, you have to prepare for at least half a year for this quest. There's certain ways to prepare for it, and then during the quest I'm there holding space, I'm praying for you, warding off, making sure that you're safe.
Can you give some advice for people who is trying to find themselves? Sometimes people don't know what to try.
We will get lost. Look, the illusion is very strong, right? The web of the illusion is very strong. So we have to develop some discipline, some self-discipline, to really meet ourselves. Because we're so programmed and conditioned to be constantly hypnotized by the external world, competitive behavior, through our education programs, etc. Now we're in a very, very powerful time through the technology and the communication devices and the networks of communication. So much information is suddenly accessible. Back then, in the 90s, there was nothing of that, so I really carved my path. Now a lot of people have contacted the last indigenous people and study with them and learn about the medicinal plants and the plants of power and the teacher plants and so on. There is infinite tools right now for us. We can either get lost with these tools or we can use these tools to find ourselves. It is up to us, So in everyday life, in a city, the choices we make the difference. If we start our day with a moment of silence where we connect with our breath, tap in with our exhale deeper into presence and relaxation, and we embrace our day with moments of silence where we can calm our mind. The thoughts are coming, the thoughts are going, and we just through our breath, we're coming into a place beyond our mind, beyond thinking and beyond feeling, into a place of just being. So I highly recommend everybody to start your day with a moment of silence, tapping in, relaxing into presence, becoming your own best friend, no matter what, learning to love yourself no matter what, coming home. We all have to do our homework of coming home, exercise, Qi movements, Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong, very, very good, meditative movements where we stretch ourselves into expansion, into presence, dance, ecstatic dance, trance dance, Sufi dance, there's so many different styles of dance which can help us to tap into being, into presence. Then inner journey work, shamanic journey work, Yoga Nidra style. I recommend after sitting in silence, vertical spinal alignment, to relax into horizontal alignment and to go into a place of deep relaxation. And usually when we tap after sitting practice into a place of relaxation in the Shavasana or Yoga Nidra style posture, we can tap deeper into the presence and we come back from what I like to call inner source and are being very rejuvenated. So then, of course, diet, I mentioned this before, diet is a very important key. If I eat white sugar, lots of pizza and pasta and wheat, which has gluten and inflammates my guts and makes me very sluggish, I may be not seeing the miracle of life around me. Maybe I'll feel very sluggish. The food doesn't give us energy, it takes energy. A lot of the meat, if it's not organic meat, or organically farmed fish, is fused with adrenaline, the way the animals have been slaughtered. It fries our nervous system, it makes us agitated, angry, depressed. When we eat these kind of foods, it is no surprise that we on a low vibrational level. So it's not necessary for us to eat meat or fish. I am a vegetarian from when I'm 13 years old, 13 years old, and I have a lot of energy. In fact, I have a lot of more energy than many of the meat eaters I'm eating. There's many, many different ways. Diet is very important. Exercise, meditation, prayer, these are all tools we can use wherever we are in the world, in the cities, in the villages. A 1,000 years ago, there was a tribe in the four corners of the Americas, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. And there were the cliff dwellers, which were called the Anasazi, Native American tribe. They disappeared without a trace. Nobody knows where they went. They left petroglyphs of the Kokopelli. Petroglyphs was this of the flute-playing messenger between the tribes. It was an order of people who were the messengers between the clans, between the tribes. They were the first postman, so the postman, remember, they were, with the horns, trumpets. Well, that comes from our tradition of the Kokopelli. We are the flute-playing messengers. So we would play our prayer flute as a symbol of peace. We are connecting the tribes, but we're the tribeless tribe. In a way, in a form, a kind of an outcast, nameless, tribeless. But yeah, we were known as the Kokopelli or the bards, and we were the messengers through song, through dance, through storytelling. We were under a white flag, and we were the connectors. Postman before post, Google before Google. And now technology has taken over our office, but we are still here as archetypes and representatives. And maybe one day technology is going to fall apart, and then probably we will revive and be recognized again as a valuable contribution to society.
Very, very beautiful
Yeah.
story. Maybe you have some movies or books you can recommend to people.
Yes, I have the best book I can recommend is The Notebook. The Notebook.
Notebook.
Yes, The Notebook. It's called The Notebook.
Notebook.
Yes, which is the inner book. If we tap in, if we tune in to come in tune with the song of the heart, which is our compass for guidance, and we really tap in through breath, meditation, movement into a place, or sound medicine, into a place of deep presence, which I like to refer to as the inner source. In that inner source, all informations are encoded of the whole universe. Any question you have, besides, okay, nowadays you can Google, find many of your questions answered through technology, information distribution, but actually the true information we all carry encoded within. And if we make the time and effort to tap in, to tune in, we can read in the inner book, which has infinite information, infinite knowledge, beyond any human information or human knowledge which is already shared through tradition or through scientific research or through mystic experience of others. The inner book is infinite. And so I recommend everybody to read in the inner book. My philosophy is that you don't need to read any book. You can really, if you pay attention, you tune in, you can know anything. And also, if we know that we know nothing, then we know something. Meaning, like if we think we know something, we probably don't know so much, because the great mystery as ever unfolding. If somebody tells that they're enlightened or something like this, you have to be very careful, because enlightened in which world, to which understanding? There's infinite dimensions of consciousness, infinite. I don't personally believe enlightenment can be a complete state, because even consciousness is ever unfolding. So we can awaken into more and more subtle levels of awareness. If we think we're enlightened, I think then we have reached a certain dead end, and I think we're trapped in some kind of an illusion. So I think to stay a true master must always remain a true student in the light of the great mystery ever unfolding. And so therefore the study of the mystery never stops. Yeah. So I don't think any written book can bring us closer. And of course, there's a lot of wonderful people out there who have translated valuable information. Of course, the Vedas. Of course, some of the beautiful native teachings. There's infinite volumes of information, but we can get lost. So in all of these, some of this can be inspirational, but some of this can be also very confusing. So I recommend stop, tune in, read in the inner book. And the sound born out of silence, leading back into silence, can guide us there.
I know that you making your movements of Tai Chi, it's Qigong movements. And I know you're doing a very special practice about the compass, inner compass. Maybe you can show this.
Okay.
It's very
sure.
small.
Yeah, no problem. I can do that. So, welcome. I would like to share one of my key exercises with you, which I feel has all the teachings I need to remind myself of. So, we have a ground position, feet standing shoulder width apart, toes in, heels slightly out. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, sinking into our soft knees, into our dantian, our energy center, 2 fingers under the belly button, little inwards. Hands resting on thighs. Inhale, take a deep breath in, hands rising up like a little feather in the air. Exhale, hands sink down like a little pebble in the water. Shoulders are relaxed, spine is straight. As if we want to sit at the edge of a chair with a ball of water on our head, and then we stand up again without spilling the water. Inhale through the nose, hands rise up like a little feather in the air, and exhale, hands sink down like a little stone in the water. Now, inhale, hands rise up, and backs of the hands together, half circle to the heart's flower, unfolding into the mirror of our open palms, looking into the mirror, recognizing the divine within, honoring that. And from there, opening the prayer into blessing gesture and lifting us onto the toes with the exhale. So inhale, hands rise up. Backs of the hands together, half circle to the heart's flower, unfolding into the mirror of our open palms, looking into the mirror, recognizing the divine essence within, honoring that, and through that, growing into a higher level of awareness. Through introspection, bringing our awareness inward, in a mirror of self-inquiry and self-reflection, we can come home to a place of communion with Source, and from that grow into expanded awareness. Yes? So at time of birth, we're born into an energy field, and where there's light, color, sound, form and movement between the form. And we're being tossed between these polarity dynamics. So the first question arises, who am I in all of this? What am I doing here? So how do we find that out? We take a deep breath in, and exhale, come into our center point. Now I'm in my center, and whatever polarity dynamics happens around me, whatever dynamics happen. And now comes the question, what is my purpose? What is my direction? Symbolized by the arms stretched forwards like an arrow. In which direction must I shoot the arrow of my action? Which direction? What is my purpose? In order to find that out, I bring my awareness inward, and the compass, the arrow points towards the heart. The heart is the doorway, the compass for guidance. Looking into the open mirror now of our palms, asking ourselves, so I am thinking, I am feeling. My thoughts influence my feelings influence my thoughts. I'm thinking and feeling, but am I my thoughts? Am I my feelings? No, I am just thinking and feeling. So I must be this body. I'm born into this body. Eventually this body returns back to the earth. It changes. The essence of who I am is still present. So I'm not this body. I live in this body. I'm thinking, I'm feeling, but I'm neither body, thoughts, nor feelings, nor the things I do or have. So looking deeper to recognize, so who am I? Looking into that mirror of self-inquiry, recognizing that I am this unique emanation of the infinite source, of the infinite ocean of being. And where does this wave I am begin, and where does this ocean end? So looking deeper to recognize that the wave and the ocean in essence are inseparable. So recognizing my inseparableness from Source. And that's when the polarities come to a place of rest and peace, communion. So the folded hands represent the place of communion. I recognize the divine within myself. I recognize the divine within you. I recognize the infinite divine presence in everything and everyone. And that is what brings us peace, really, when we start recognizing the divine in everyone and everything, honoring that in everyone and everything, including ourselves. And from that place, our communion we can open the prayer into a blessing gesture, and we can lift us out of whatever identification into expansion of awareness, and bless everything we want to grow out of, not by fighting against it, but by blessing it, we grow out of it. In this expanded state, the balance is delicate, so we fall back into identification, and then we practice again. Inhale, hands rise up, backs of the hands together, half circle to the heart's flower, unfolding into the mirror of open palms, recognizing divine within, honoring that, and growing into a high level of awareness. And that's it. Thank you.